Dillard show. So we met in the parking lot at Dillard's, and we did like this transfer, like a drug deal. And it's been a great partnership ever since then.
And now they're addicted, right?
Now they're addicted, and then they gave me my own wall.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And so this is probably, you know, what many people know me for, my more traditional work. And our mantra at the gallery is color and joy. So color is my thing, and I'm known as a colorist, meaning just that I take an ordinary scene of the desert and I add my own emotion to it, which is color. So you never know where art's going to take you, and I try to be open, and I've painted now for 25 years. It's my second career. I didn't know I was going to be an artist. I had a sports marketing career before, and I love to paint. I painted in high school and college and got no encouragement. Never thought I would be an artist. And I was on vacation and saw somebody's work and decided to paint again. And a professor at the University of Arizona saw my work, and he said, I take a group to Greece to paint every summer for a month, and you're going with us. And I'm like, I can't go with you. I have a business, I have a husband, I have 5 cats. I can't do that. And he said, no, I'm saving a spot for you and you're going. And every time I saw him, he said, I have this spot and you're going. And I finally looked at my schedule, and we did a lot of golf tournaments for LPGA and PGA. And I looked at my schedule, and there was a spot right between the tournaments, and everyone said I should go. So I left my life for a month, and I went to Greece, and it altered me. I mean, I got off that plane in Athens, and my world was black and white, and a month later, it was full color. And once you're out of the box, you really can't go. So I was depressed to go back to my life, as it were, and it took me 3 years to put everything together so I could sell my business and become a full-time artist. And that was 1996. And I took those 3 years, those next 3 years, I kept one of my publishing companies so I could still have some income. And those next 3 years I just studied, because I needed a lot of technique and foundation that I didn't have. So I found some artists in Tucson that I could work with, and then I would take workshops all over, actually the world. I went to Italy, I went to Mexico, I went to France, and it was fabulous. And in 1999, we opened our little gallery on Broadway in Tucson with 100 customers, and today we have our own building on Swan Road in Tucson with 30,000 customers. Wow. Someone who's bought a box of note cards, you know, to an original. Yeah. So, you know, I'm going along with my style that I had painted for 20 plus years, and I decided to approach a man named John Nieto to carry his work. Anyone know John Nieto's work? Anyone familiar with it? He's probably the most famous Native American artist. I'm sure you've seen his work. He paints very colorful animals and Native Americans. So he's known as one of the first modern fauvists, which means they take a subject that's realistic and put crazy colors on it. And he's in the, you know, he's in the presidential library, and he's internationally known. He passed away, unfortunately, a year and a half ago. But before I hung his paintings in the gallery, because he agreed that we could represent him, which was a great honor for our gallery. Before I hung his paintings, they were in my own art studio, surrounding me. And I realized that I'd wanted to do a spirit animal for many years, and I just hadn't gotten around to it. I grew up in my dad's veterinary hospital in New Jersey, and so I really have this very deep love and appreciation for animals. And I had wanted to do a spirit animal. I thought about it for maybe 10 years, and once his animals were surrounding me, I thought, I need to do this. So I painted a coyote, And I don't know why, but I had 5 elements in this painting. It was a painting on Yupo paper, which is watercolor on this very slick surface. All the paint runs around on the surface. It doesn't absorb. It's the hardest medium to work on. Okay, why I chose it, I don't know. But I decided to paint on Yupo paper, so that was one of the parameters. It had a black background, which is extremely difficult on Yupo paper to get a smooth black background. It had a moon and stars. Okay, so we're talking about this painting. Okay, so black background, Yupo crazy paper, a moon and stars, named after a song. So this is called Fly Me to the Moon. It's my wedding song. And I decided to put a tattoo on this coyote. And it's the word one. It's down here. And it just, to me, signified being one with animals, that we're one with the universe. So this was my only spirit animal that I was ever going to do. And a friend of mine who's an artist, he's a very accomplished artist, came into my studio and he said, "What is this?" And I explained it to him and he said, "You need to do more of these." And I'm like, "Really?" I said, "I don't know if anyone would buy this." He said, "Oh no, you need to do more of these." And I had so much fun doing it, really, that I thought, okay, I'll do more of this. So at my show in October, a year and a half ago, I had maybe 4 or 5 spirit animals, and they sold out immediately. At my next show, I had another 8, and they sold out immediately. Sometimes my gallery director would show someone on the phone which one I was working on, and they would sell before they came into the gallery. So, you know, what do I know? I didn't know if they would sell. So I now have, I believe, 31 spirit animals. And if anyone wants to look, I'll pass these around. This is the majority of them. The new ones haven't quite made the sheets yet, but I'm just having a blast with my spirit animals. They all have those 5 elements. They all have the tattoo. They all are named after songs. They all have the black background. They all have the moon and stars, and they're all on this ridiculous paper called Yupo. So what happens is when I finish an original, I'll send it to my photographer to have it professionally photographed so that we can make reproductions. And then it goes to my framer. And inevitably, someone rubs up against it, or it falls over, and I have to take off all that black and redo the whole background. I've had to do it maybe 8 times, and it takes hours and hours and hours. So it's a crazy thing to do, but I love the effect of the colors running together, and I do a lot of stamping on the Yupo, and it's a very interesting medium. Not many artists work in Yupo, so it's different and unique. And as an artist, I didn't specifically set out to do different and unique, but that's always what an artist strives for, is to have their own look and their own style. So John Nieto, once again, and this isn't really an example of it, but this is the story about John. His family was in New Mexico for 300 years, okay? And he had a stroke. And he was pretty much out of it, stopped painting, not communicative. So they sold all his painting stuff, and he kind of just vegged out. 3 years later, he had another episode, and he woke up. And he looked at his wife, and he said, "Where are my car keys, and why are you so fat?" Because he hadn't seen her for 3 years. And I guess she gained weight. And she tells this story, so it's really funny. So when we had a show for John, he was too ill to come, but she and her son came, who runs the business, and she told this magnificent story. And he started painting again. And in his second career, he started painting Native Americans in Picasso style. And I thought that is such an interesting concept. So, Steve, where's Steve? Oh, do you have the, Master Series canvases? Can you bring those over?
They're behind the counter.
They're behind the
Yes.
counter?
You want me to go and get them for you?
Yeah, can you bring, just bring the Picasso over, or, and the Van Gogh. So I thought, well, that's really interesting. So why don't I paint my subject matter in the style of the masters? Right? So the first one I did was Saguaro Matisse. So this is Saguaro Matisse, okay? And then I think my next one was Saguaro Picasso. So if you know Picasso, you might be able to identify this as having influence from Picasso. And I had so much fun with this. This next one is probably the most recognizable for Saguaro Van Gogh, right? With the Starry, Starry Night and all the swirls. So that's Saguaro Van Gogh. And of course I had to paint a Saguaro Nieto. So this one is Saguaro Nieto. That's in his style. He did a lot of this black outlining. Thank you. And the saguaro within the saguaro. So sometimes he'd do a coyote, and in the ears would be another coyote. So that's where that came from. And then this little one down here was a commission for the president of Raytheon, who was retiring, and he loved wildcats and he loved contemporary art. So they commissioned me to do wildcat Picasso. And somehow his head got upside down. And then another gentleman loved clay, Paul Clay, so he commissioned Saguaro clay. So I'll pass these around to you. So that's how art evolves. You get an idea and then you run with it, and one thing leads to another. And they say that art begets art. So I try to remain open to ideas and inspiration. I never say, I'm done, this is what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life. I just try to keep an open mind and take inspiration from, you never know where it comes from. So I like to look at a lot of art, I like to digest it, and then, whatever comes out. Although sometimes you can't decide what's gonna come out, it's kind of just what's inside of you, because you interpret it and you reproduce it. So I'm gonna open it up for questions, for what you'd like to know. It's probably the eagle, and that's that right there. But I do love, I have to tell you the story about this one. So I had lunch with a guy who I was very impressed with. I had heard that this man was a photographer, and he decided he invented some tools to help other photographers. So, when you're a professional photographer, you keep having to change equipment. And he developed a magnetic way to change equipment quickly. And he now has a website that's worth $10 million. And I was so impressed, I'm like, I need to know how he did this. So we had lunch, and he said to me, you're selling your original paintings for too little. And I'm like, well, we're in Tucson, that's what the market can bear. And he said, no. He says, you need to put $20,000 on, charge $20,000 for one painting. And I'm like, what do I have to lose? So my last show, I put $20,000 on this painting as a price, because I thought, if this doesn't sell, I want to keep it. I love this painting, right? I have nothing to lose. If I sell it, I'll be happy. If I don't sell it, I'll be happy. 3 people won, and it sold for $20,000. So what do I know? So yeah, I was really charging very little for my spirit animals at the beginning, because I didn't think they could. Sometimes they're requests. So sometimes I just knew which ones I wanted to do. I did a deer recently. I did a cow. I want to do. I did another coyote for a Tucson wildlife fundraiser because I'm very big into helping the animals. Sometimes people ask me. Someone's asked me to do a stag, a deer with the rack. I did a moose. You know, I mean, I've done 31 different ones.
Tell about the buffalo.
The buffalo was, I saw this guy on a trip to Yellowstone, and we're driving, and he just walked in front of the car, and I'm like, I suppose I'm supposed to paint him.
Tapping you on your shoulder.
Yeah, this is a message. So we stopped the car, we took a bunch of photos of him, and he is one of the most popular spirit animals. Yeah. So if you want anything tonight, these are available in any size. We can special order for you, but if you find one on the wall that you want, I'm glad to sign it for you in person. Yes.
I was wondering, since you did sports marketing and you were around golf courses, have you ever thought about painting golf courses?
I have painted golf
Have you?
courses,
Uh-huh.
yes. I painted special holes and
Yes.
yeah. I have
That'd be
done.
popular.
And this is my husband in the back. This is Vero, and Vero's an excellent photographer, so a lot of my photo reference comes from his materials. So everywhere we go, we have our cameras, and we're always taking pictures. We get a kick out of just going somewhere and taking pictures. And then everywhere I travel, I probably do a painting show. Because especially when you travel, you know, you have time to really look at things. Whereas in your ordinary life, you're busy and you're running from here to there. But when you travel, you really have time to stop and see. And I think that's what happened to me in Greece. I learned how to see. I learned how to see shadow, color, and line, and form, and shape. And I really hadn't had much awareness about that in the past. So it's part of being an artist is just learning how to see. You're welcome. Thank you. Any other questions?
Talk about your philanthropy.
My philanthropy to animals, yes. Well, I have a very special place in my heart for animals. When we started the gallery, we started a 501c3 called Art for Animals, and we've raised a couple $100,000 for animal causes over the past 20 years. And we also donate to other charities throughout the year, so we give something to 100 charities a year. You know, some small things, some big things, depending upon how personally involved they are. But that was one of our missions when we started the gallery, was to be philanthropic and to support the community that supports us.
What's the song that goes with the buffalo?
Oh, give me a home.
Oh, okay.
What else, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
got it.
Yes.
If we buy one of these, can you suggest some kind of a light to shine on them if we don't?
My husband is the lighting expert.
Okay.
Right up, yes.
So he will talk to you about lighting. All right, well, I'm happy to talk to you privately. And thanks for coming, and thanks for being a good audience. Appreciate it.